What is up, my fellow mobile gamers? Today's video, we got our best guide for artifact raid. We had a major breakthrough over the last 2 days. I put in some serious work and we got pretty far in gear raid 2. We are all the way up to stage 19, and then for the artifact raid, we are almost at we are at the last stage 18, but we're struggling to get a 3-star to get that auto fight enabled. So quick guide, we have our recommended heroes. Now for this instance, you really need a solid tank. I mean, somebody who's just going to soak up the main source of damage from the boss, which is Salazar. I'll go over the lower stages first, and then we'll talk more about the higher stages. But for these lower stages, it's pretty simple, where you're going to put your main tank right here, right in front of your blue spot to block Salazar, who's going to come down. And that's pretty much how you complete this level. You just have to destroy Salazar. Then for these early stages, you can kind of get away with putting some ranged damage dealers to really help you do a lot of damage, because it's going to vary on what heroes you have. First stages, it kind of lets you throw in a mix of marksman mages along with some fighters and tanks as well. You really only need one healer for these early stages. Once we get to stage 6 though, it does remove one of the platforms, and now we only have 2 platforms, and now you have to focus more on using your fighters and tank. But then you're going to put your fighters here to kind of sandwich, is what I guess I would say, Salazar, so that you have a fighter on this end and a fighter on that end, because there are going to be portals that kind of start to open up, and then enemies will come down these other lanes, and you really just want to block those enemies so that they don't reach Salazar the boss, because if they do reach him, he goes ahead and he heals, and then he starts doing crazy rage damage and stuff like that. For this instance, we only have 2 platforms, but if you need to, this is where you would go ahead and use 2 healers. Once we get to stage 10, it slightly changes. You'll notice from 9 to 10, it just kind of breaks up those rocks that are in the middle. At this instance though, you will be able to put a fighter or tank in this middle part. Again though, it's going to be the same concept. Now you're going to have your traditional enemies come down these 2 lines, but for this instance, now you're going to start to have enemies come down that middle lane. Typically, if you can destroy him before those enemies start coming down the middle lane, that is the best bet. Otherwise, you are going to have to eventually put like a fighter or a tank in this middle part just so that he doesn't get healed up. Then once we get to stage 13, this is where it really starts to amp up and get very difficult, and it really starts to change up the tactics slightly, but it's still kind of the same concept. We will do a run where I'll show you like a brief setup when we do these higher stages, but I'm just trying to go through all these right now. So for stage 13 all the way up to 18, it's pretty much the same layout. I had to start putting fighters at the top left corner and top right corner, because you're going to have the oozes go ahead and start spawning. The oozes spawn from the top, and they go ahead and they combine and make a giant ooze, which is very, very dangerous. And if the giant ooze gets down here, it starts wreaking havoc on your fighters and tanks down here. So you never want to have that giant ooze fuse. Giant ooze fuse. We'll go ahead and we'll do a run through right now. I'll do a stage 17 run. I know somebody said to turn this off, but I'm not trying to show you me completing the level. I'm just trying to show you the layout. I'm not trying to sit here and flex and be like, oh, I can beat this stage. Like, I want to show you the complete layout of where to position heroes, what to do, all kinds of stuff like that, because that's really what is the most important thing here. The other thing is I put in some leaders, very, very important. We have Wrath as a leader. I powered up Wrath, very strong, highly recommended hero to use. Salazar is immediately going to come down, so we first have to drop our tank. So you'll see this is the layout. I wish I could kind of pause it so you could see like the layout of everything. But for instance, you see we're going to put our tank here, and you see those green corners. That's where we're going to put our fighters to stop the oozes from merging. And then we're going to put our additional 2 damage fighters right here. And then we can go ahead and put like an additional tank or fighter on these other corners to block the sides. So first we got to drop our middle tank right here. Then we immediately, you have to put out a healer right away. That's going to be your second drop. Whatever healer you have, put them on there, position it so that they at least heal the tank. If you have Vortex, that'll be kind of slightly better because he'll cover more of a range. But if you have someone like Elowin's also really good, because Elowin's not only going to be able to do multi heals on the tank and also some fighters, but you also have that special ability where you can kind of place a healing ward. So that's what we're going to do. If you have Elowin, you're just going to place your healing ward over here to heal your other heroes who are out of range. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to let that run. Now we're going to put our main fighters in these two corners right away. So whatever your main two fighting damage dealers are, for me, Salazar puts out a ton of damage. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop him first. I'm going to drop him right here, and then we're going to make sure that he is angled towards the boss. You'll see that these two red portals formed, so now we have enemies coming in from the left and right. First, they're going to come in from the left side. You don't have to worry about protecting the right side yet. Just focus on the left side first. This is an instance where you can go ahead and put a tank or a melee fighter, whoever you have. For me, I have mostly fighters, who is my strong suit. So for this instance, I need someone who's tanky and can put out some damage. Abomination, absolutely an amazing hero for this. He puts out damage, he tanks. We're going to go ahead and we're going to drop him. You can drop him here or here. And this is another option. It's going to depend on if you have fighters who have range, so that when the Salazar boss does his ultimate and he starts slashing around, that they can withstand that damage. Because that's the problem that I'm facing right now, that I'm trying to figure out, is I have to make my fighters a little bit more high on the defensive stance, because they keep getting destroyed every time he goes ahead and activates an ultimate. So I'll go ahead and I'll just drop Abomination right there. Now you'll see that so far we're doing good, but we definitely need to drop another damage dealer, another fighter on the boss, because we're really not getting a lot of damage off. We also have some spawns on the right side now, so we have to make sure that they do not get through. So that's going to be our next thing, is we're going to go ahead, we'll drop, let's drop our Wrath. We're going to drop him far away. So this instance, if you have someone like Elowin, this is where her range is low for healing, so you actually have to keep one of these spots open, which would be this one, to place that ward. So you see how I don't have any heroes here? This lets me place the healing ward here, so that way I'm able to heal these two fighters who are out of range. Again, it's going to depend on what heroes you have. Let's drop our Zillatu to go ahead and deal some damage to our boss right there. Once you get a little bit deeper in, you'll see, here we go. Now the oozes are starting to spawn, and now we need to make sure we take care of them. This is where we're going to go ahead and drop some of our additional melee fighters. So I'm going to drop our wolf guy right here in the top left. And it always starts in order. It starts in the left side first, and then the right side. So bottom left will spawn first, then bottom right, then top left will spawn, and then top right. So it's always in that order. So we're going to drop our wolf guy right here. It doesn't matter which way you have him focus, if you have him focus left or up, because he's going to block both of these oozes. And that's pretty much the main thing, is we want to make sure those oozes do not combine and make that giant ooze, which is really dangerous. You'll see that they have taken a lot of damage. I'll pop the ults right now, but they are very low, so this is when I would go ahead and use my healing ward. And you'll notice now these oozes are going to start to spawn, and we'll drop our other we'll drop our other fighter in the top right. Again, it doesn't matter which way, if they face up or down, as long as they're blocking. And you can see now we have a really good setup. So this is your main setup when you get to those higher stages. And this is pretty much what it has to be. It has to look like this. The other thing is, you have to take note that it's going to also depend on your gear. You're going to get to a point where you're just going to have to get better gear, and you can't really progress to that last stage. And that's kind of where I'm at. I just got to get better gear. But yeah, this is it. I hope you guys and girls enjoyed this video. Happy, stay safe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.